Now fast forward 2 months, my ex is still healing and I bring up possibly going to my cabin for a holiday and asking if she wanted to go. She said absolutely not, because my uncle and cousin may be there. I said I understand, but this worried me because I was thinking about our future and how it would work regarding family occasions. I brought this up to her and we had a disagreement about it. I asked if they could come to a future wedding of ours, or if we held a family holiday would they be able to come. To which she said again, absolutely not. I expressed how I felt about this, considering this uncle was the one I was closest to. I said, do you think in time your feelings will change? And she said no, because of the permanent damage she felt from the accident. Then she brought up covering up for my cousin and that I should never speak to them again because of the pain they put her through via the accident and trust breaking. I took about a week to consider everything. During this time she thought and convinced herself I was choosing them over her because I was arguing with her about them being in my life for future events. My family members also never reached out past the first week following the accident, and she felt hurt by this. Yet, I reached out constantly and was supporting her healing process. I even wrote to her parents my apology for the damage she had been dealt. Unfortunately, I will touch upon this later, but her dad banished me from their house and family events. I blocked my cousin, aunt, and uncle and sent them a long message regarding everything. Up to this point, 2 months after the accident, I had not spoken to them, and had been supporting my ex's healing progress. So not only did I not speak to them, but I blocked them and wrote what they did wrong and how it was not acceptable. Thus in this moment choosing her over my family members. She came back at the end of that week despite all of this and said my actions showed I chose my family over her, and she felt very hurt by this. She said my actions to argue against her for people who hurt her was clear to her how I felt. These arguments were never yelling or anything. It was simply me asking if they would be able to be at certain events and my reasoning why I would appreciate them there. And even after me making my actions clear about not speaking to them since, and blocking them, she still felt betrayed because, as she said, my actions are clear and you chose them over me. Well, we dropped this topic moving forward because she was focusing on healing and I blocked them. Yet she still seemed hurt. Now her father is a great person, yet he is strict and he has autism. She never shared with her parents all the details. Simply the details of the accident. Before the accident, I was at her house 2/7 days in a week, I would say, because that way my ex and I could see each other because she liked being at home. Then 2/7 days at my house. And one of those 4 days we would do a full date all day or all night. Anyways, since the accident her father grew very resentful to me. Despite my apology in writing, and even in person. He would argue with my ex that she needed to break up with me and that I was not a good person because I let her get on a dangerous machine. Mind you, my ex is 27 and I am not controlling, thus I did what I could by warning my cousin to be safe and giving them helmets. So her father blamed me, and he told I am not allowed over to their house. So now, my ex and I only saw each other at my house and less. Even so, my ex told me that she had to lie to her father where she was going because he would consistently yell at her to break up with me because I am not a good person for letting her get hurt. Fast forward 3 more months, we're still doing weekly dates and still having sex frequently. We are getting into a better place as we close into graduating. At this time, we were at our parents' doing internships. I still am not allowed over, and she is even having me pick her up a street over because she did not want her dad to see when we would spend time together. This was hard for me, but I never argued about it and just understood despite how bad I felt that her dad hated me when I didn't cause the accident. We are spending less time together because of her father on her back, and because she doesn't prefer to always come to my house. I have smokers in the house and she hates the smell, as do I, but I need to deal with it until I could move out again. I would always spray and light candles to make it better. Event 2. Now another month forward, we are now into the beginning of 2020. We find out that we are unexpectedly pregnant. We used birth control, but it must have failed. She brings out the test, and as I wait, I am smiling thinking about everything. When she brings them both out, they are both positive. I hug her, and then I begin to have a panic attack. Let me make an important note here. I have an anxiety disorder which she knew about. My panic is breathing heavy, heart racing, face likely looking panicked, and intrusive thoughts. These thoughts began to come out, as I explained to her this. I am so grateful and happy for this. I am worried though because neither of us have jobs. We are living at our parents, and you don't want to live with me because of your parents. As well, your parents are going to be mad at me even more than they were with the accident. She begins to cry, and tells me this is supposed to be a happy moment. I tell her I agree 100%, and I am happy, But we are going to need to figure some things out so that we stay happy. I don't want her and I to struggle financially in any way. I grew up poor and that's why I push myself to work and find a career. She agrees but still seems really sad. I see her about a week later and she begins telling me we need to go to her therapist. I ask why and she says we need to make a big decision. Continuing, I ask what's that? She said we have 3 options: keep our baby, give our baby up for adoption, or abortion. I tell her that's okay and we go to her therapist. During this session she breaks down crying because she is worried about everything. She speaks for at least half of the session about her parents and why she is worried they will disown her, and why she is worried about their opinion about premarital sex and a baby hour of marriage. We leave with the therapist telling us to come back in a week with pros and cons for each option. After seeing her cry and worry, I spent the next month looking for work 8 hours a day. Yet it was COVID layoffs happening and so I couldn't find squat. Anyways, a week later I bring my pros, my cons, as does she. I preface the talk with saying I want to keep our baby, I have been looking for work, and I don't want her parents to be a reason why we choose something like this. Then I also say I will continue to step up. We give our pros and cons for each, and hers are mostly focused on her parents and the lack of financial security. I understand, and we talk about the options in therapy. Another week, and at this point we are going together to all of the doctor's appointments. She talks to me and asks me what do I want to do. I tell her she seems pretty set on abortion based on our talk in therapy, that I want to keep our baby, but if not then I still want children in our future. She tells me she is leaning on abortion, and I tell her I will have to support this decision. Finally she and I go to a doctor's appointment, and the whole time I am nervous because the night before I was highly debating buying an engagement ring and proposing to her. Yet, I was arguing with myself because I didn't want her to feel like I was doing this only because of the situation. During this appointment, I was in my head and distant as I contemplated it. Afterwards, she mentioned how my actions were pretty clear in this appointment that I was against having our baby. I told her I was only distant because I have something on my mind I cannot share with her, because mentally I still hadn't decided. She didn't believe me. I couldn't pull the trigger because, like I said, I didn't want her to resent me thinking that I was only doing it for this reason. A week later she scheduled the abortion and told me that she decided to go forward with the abortion. The day comes and I drive her there. Outside I tell her we can leave and that we do not need to go in. She trudged in and seemed very distant, understandably why. We go into the room and I am asking all of these questions out of concern for her during this. And then we wait. I told her we could leave, but she said no. It happens and then I bring her home and do my best to make everything both comfortable and enjoyable by making her favorite dinner and watching her favorite movie, etc. We do not talk about it and do not have sex for 2 months. I told her I am not going to pressure any of that, and when she is ready we can go slow into whatever she wants to do. We are having good sex again, but she is very worried about anything getting into her. So we begin to see her therapist again. Still we both are looking for jobs, and still doing our weekly dates as best as we can with COVID and not being able to go to her house. Fast forward 2 more months. And she got a job. I am still looking because in my field, teaching, they were distance learning and not in need of subs nor teachers. Soon summer was upon us and she was working 40 hours a week. Event 3. Well, by this time, I was pretty depressed by the abortion, the previously mentioned betrayal she felt from the accident, and now my lack of finding work. On top of all of that, with her working so much, I only got to see her max 9 hours a week. I associate that to both her busy schedule and her withdrawing from me. But during this time, I would mention getting married in our future and having a family when we are ready and simply telling her I still wanted that. I maybe brought it up once a month and she would cry and tell me she is not ready right now for those and that in the future she might be. I would tell her, I fully understand and that I only bring it up to assure her I still wanted that with her. Well, for 3 months we handled this, and juggling little time spent together on her end, I had a bunch of free time because I was still looking for work. I would ask her to go out and do things, hikes, walks, water activities, movies, etc. And she would tell me how she is busy and cannot until the weekend. Before all of this her and I would go on walks almost 4/7 days if not more with her dog for like an hour. I was becoming needy because I would ask her to include me in those things. I would sometimes cry and ask her if she wanted to see me, and she would respond that she sees me already as much as she wanted to in a week, 9 hours.